Mercedes-Benz isn't just doing cars anymore. Their next big move is this. An entire $8.2 billion district in Dubai. Shaped by the same design philosophy they've perfectioned over a century of car making. But will they meet enough demand? It's located a bit further out, and with over 13,000 units to sell in a competitive market, the stakes are high. So let's break down why car companies like Mercedes-Benz are stepping into real estate, and if that actually makes sense. Though the idea of a car company venturing into real estate sounds a little strange, it's actually becoming a fairly common pattern. A few years ago, we made a video on Bugatti residences, a high-end residential skyscraper rising in Dubai's iconic business bay. At the time, it almost felt surreal. Bugatti, a brand known for their record-breaking hypercars, teaming up with Binghatti, a luxury real estate company in Dubai. But what looked like a flashy collaboration turned out to be a lucrative business move. The Bugatti residences didn't just generate headlines, it generated massive demand. In fact, the project even managed to sell the single most expensive penthouse not just in Dubai, but in the entire Middle East. The price? $150 million. We're talking about a 9-figure sale for a single penthouse apartment in a building that hasn't even been finished yet. But Bugatti wasn't even the first to do this. Several other car brands already have their own branded residences around the world. In Miami, the Porsche Design Tower became famous for its car elevator system, allowing residents to park their vehicle right outside their units. Right next door, Bentley is building a similar project with the Bentley Residences, also featuring a lift for residents' cars. Overlooking the Miami River, there's also the Aston Martin Residences, which already sold 99% of its units upon completion in 2024. And then finally, we have Mercedes-Benz, with their lineup of luxury condos simply called Mercedes-Benz Places. Right now, they have 2 towers under construction, one in Miami and another in Dubai in partnership with Binghatti. At this point, the trend is hard to ignore. But why exactly are all these car manufacturers now making luxury condos? Well, the most obvious reason is to diversify their revenue streams. But it's also about expanding what their brand actually means and selling a certain lifestyle. These are calculated moves in what is now an emerging real estate sector known as branded residences. The idea behind branded residences is actually quite simple. You're not just buying square footage, you're buying a name and an image. When a residence carries a globally recognized brand, buyers assume a certain level of quality, service, and long-term value. If a company has spent decades protecting its image, maintaining standards, and delivering consistency, that reputation transfers to the property. For investors, that reduces uncertainty, and for buyers, it also creates security. This began with some of the most well-known names in the hotel industry, such as the Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton. They started selling entire units, and their names alone could justify higher prices per square meter. And it worked. Branded residences consistently sell at a premium compared to non-branded luxury units in the same market. And the number of these developments continues to increase each year. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Luxury car brands operate under the exact same logic. They already sell status, craftsmanship, and exclusivity. So extending that brand into other luxury goods is actually a very natural progression. If someone trusts Mercedes to engineer a $100,000 car with obsessive precision, why wouldn't they trust a condo carrying the same name? And that's precisely the strategy. The car becomes the gateway, and the home becomes an extension of that lifestyle. But Mercedes isn't just building another tower with its logo on it. Now, together with Binghatti, they're taking it one step further. Because instead of attaching their name to a single skyscraper, they're attaching it to an entire master plan development. Not just a building, an entire district. This is Mercedes-Benz Places Binghatti City. The project was first unveiled to the public in January 2026, with a live event which drew more than 21,000 people. It will consist of 12 towers, each named after some of Mercedes' visionary concept cars. I'll dive deeper into their plans and why they bet over $8 billion on this in a second. When working on these videos, I sometimes work in different places. And every time I connect to public Wi-Fi, I'm basically trusting that no one is watching what I'm doing. If someone was tracking my activity or stealing my data, I probably wouldn't even notice it. That's why I've been using CyberGhost for over a year now. It runs in the background, encrypts your traffic, and just makes everything a lot more private and secure. On top of that, you can access up to 40% more content on streaming platforms and even find better deals online. CyberGhost has over 38 million users and a really great rating on Trustpilot. It's super easy to use, works across 100 countries, and what I like most is that you can use it on up to 7 devices at the same time. So you can share it with family and friends. Right now, they're offering 84% off plus 4 whole months for free, with a 45-day money-back guarantee. So you can try it out completely risk-free and see if it's worth it. If you want to check it out, go to cyberghostvpn.com/megabuilds or use the link in our description. Alright, back to Mercedes-Benz Places. The centerpiece of the development is the Vision Iconic Tower, named after the brand's newest concept vehicle, the Vision Iconic. The main tower will rise to a height of 341 meters and will have more than 1,400 residences on its own, ranging from 1 to 5 bedroom units. Some of these residences even come with their own private pool. The other towers, meanwhile, will consist of studio apartments up to 3 bedroom units. In total, all 12 towers will have around 13,000 residences, which basically turns it into a small city. Starting prices range from $430,000 for the studio-type apartments to as much as $1.3 million for a 3-bedroom suite. And there will also be spaces for around 200 shops, all located on the ground floor of each tower. Anchoring all these together is an expensive grand promenade at the center of the development. It will have some water features and even a running and cycling path. But where exactly will it be built? When it comes to the location, they'll need a lot of space. So downtown Dubai and Business Bay were out of the question. Instead, they had to take a location a bit further out, but with good access by car. The project will be located here, in the Nad Al Shiba district. It's right next to the Meydan area, known for its racecourse. Over the past few years, the area has become one of Dubai's next expansion zones, with many developments under construction. The total investment in Mercedes City will be around $8.2 billion, with completion currently set for 2029. And now that we know the investment amount, let's do the math and estimate the potential selling price of the entire project. The main tower has more than 1,400 residences, and it's divided into the following unit types. According to several listings and a few articles we found online, these are the starting prices for studios up to a 3-bedroom apartment. For the most luxurious 4 and 5 bedroom units, we didn't find exact prices just yet, but it's safe to assume that they're going to be significantly more expensive given their exclusivity. So these are just our own estimates for now. In addition, apartments on higher floors will most likely be more expensive than these starting prices, so that bumps up the overall selling price even more. In total, the main tower on its own could generate well over $1 billion in sales. When we add the remaining towers to the mix and just consider the starting prices, we already end up at around $8 billion. But that's just the starting prices. According to Binghatti, they had a net profit margin of 29% last year. Considering this, as well as the fact that branded residences are selling at a premium, we estimate that the entire development could be worth closer to $12 billion in total sales, far surpassing the initial $8.2 billion investment. Well, that's assuming Mercedes and Binghatti managed to sell out the entire project. And that's where branding becomes the deciding factor. Because in a city like Dubai, luxury supply is not the problem. There are already dozens of high-end towers competing for the same group of wealthy buyers. So what makes this different? What makes this uniquely Mercedes? Overall, the design leans heavily into the brand's signature aesthetics. Clean lines and smooth curves you'd normally associate with their flagship cars. But let's take a look at 2 examples. First, the facade echoes the brand's identity in materials and curved shapes. The edge of each tower is covered with metal accents that follow the same metallic finish you'd see on their grills and window trims. Second, this extends into the interiors. This is one of the living rooms in the 1-bedroom suite. What I first noticed was the ceiling. These soft rounded edges with seamless LED strips running all the way around feels exactly like the ambient lighting inside a modern Mercedes, just stretched across an entire apartment. The furniture follows the same pattern. Curved silhouettes, no sharp edges, everything flowing from one shape into the next. Even the coffee table looks like it was made from the same glossy material they use on their concept cars. The choice of materials is on brand. A mix of brushed metal, warm leather and textured fabric panels. Looking at it like that, it definitely feels a little bit like a Mercedes cockpit. And if you look closely, small details like the logo on the floor reinforce the branding without ever shouting it in your face. What does all that really mean? Practically speaking, not that much, to be honest. There are definitely similarities between Mercedes cars and these units. But at the end of the day, it's still a luxury unit you can easily compare to others. So the question is, would you be willing to pay more for that similarity? For Mercedes fans, the answer might just be a resounding yes. According to Binghatti CEO, one factor that makes car-branded residences lucrative is the large number of clients looking for trophy assets. Just like how car collectors would pay a premium for rare supercars, some might be willing to purchase the most expensive residences if they're attached to a prestigious brand like Mercedes-Benz. And maybe it doesn't even matter if they're actually going to live there. They're in it for the prestige and for a potential return on their investment. And if you look at the current state of Dubai's real estate market, then yes, selling out isn't impossible. Real estate transactions in the city reached an all-time high in 2025, with a total value of $250 billion. Additionally, Mercedes and Binghatti have already shown some success with their partnership. Their first tower in Dubai has already seen great interest from buyers, selling half of the 150 residences within the first day after launch. The same is true for most of the other projects we've mentioned in the beginning. If this succeeds, it won't stop with Mercedes. We might start seeing entire neighborhoods built around the identities of different brands. It could be exciting to live in a place that reflects your favorite brand, but then again, it will likely come with higher prices. So what about you? Would you like to live in a neighborhood themed after your favorite brand, such as a car brand or maybe even a fashion brand? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to try CyberGhost VPN, use our link for 84% off and 4 months for free. You can use CyberGhost on 7 devices at the same time and share it with family and friends. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.